Hey everybody, how you doing? Hope everyone is having a great day. It's so great to see everybody. Willie, how you doing? So happy you're here. It's so cool. It's 9:30. Yet another Wednesday. So it's good to see you. Let me get rid of this text here. Here we go. Great. So I actually a little bit ahead of the game, Willie, this week. I was able to figure out how to actually type in the chat information, so that's really good. So Willie, let me know, what do you think of the sound? Is the sound quality good? The picture quality? Let me know what you think. So I'm so excited to do part 2 here today, that's for sure. So here we are. So basically, we are pretty much getting into, I would say, the middle of the road with this particular piece. Buddy, how's it going? Paris, guys, thank you so much. We have Willie here as well. So that's very cool. Willie, I think that means that it's pretty good, right? Sound and everything. So that's pretty cool. Thank you so much. I appreciate that, Willie. So I actually, let me go to this camera here. So basically, this is week number 2 for Selena Gomez, which is really exciting, and I'm really happy about this. I want to take this to a really good level, maybe even have it almost to a realism that's a little further than what I usually go to. During the week, I went ahead and did a couple of changes, nothing too big. Let me see if I could show you real fast. Go to this camera. Yeah, so here, I went ahead and worked on her mouth, her teeth a little bit. And Wendy, good to see you. Raul, how are you guys? So cool to see yous. And worked on the teeth a little bit, maybe resolved some of the hands, going a little further. So Wendy, you had problem again. I'm so sorry to hear that. It's getting a little rough for you. I think it's because I actually schedule these ahead of time, and that might be what's causing it, is that link. So I'll try and look into that for you. Hopefully next week it won't do that. So today I was working with the Sotar 2020 Slim, and I was really enjoying doing a lot of how do you say, practice with it, and also just doing some details. Now, remember when I said last week that I like to work with over-reduced India ink? It's really very light. But what happens when you reduce it even more? You even get more ability for tight detail as long as you go ahead and lower the air pressure a little bit. So I'm just going to work right now on this side plane right here and sort of thin out her face a little bit. Now this is very over reduced with my Sotar 2020 Slim. Now as you can see, when we work on this side plane, we're actually thinning her face out a little bit. So that's pretty good. I'm just going to go ahead and darken this just a tad to see how it shows on the computer. I actually have it on my TV screen so I can see it. I just have the sound off. So Paris said she started reading Radu Vero's book again, making more sense to me now than in the past. Wow. So if you can, could you review on what exactly is Radu Vero's book? And while Paris is explaining that to us, I'm just going to continue working. Now this is very light. I always like to go very light when I first start a piece. It's always very important to do that. So make sure when you begin working, begin the day, that you start with a very reduced paint, very reduced ink, because you want to ease into it. You don't want to have something that is too potent, too dark. If you make any mistake, you're really going to pay. You don't want to do that. So as you can see, just by thinning out her face, it is actually bringing out the realism or the likeness of Selena Gomez. So Paris says the Bible on airbrushing, everything you need to know. Very cool. And Buddy says he learned to use watercolor from that gentleman, and still use gouache and watercolor as his main medium. So that's very cool. So what do you think of gouache? I know we have Jake, who actually uses gouache in his airbrush. I know he did that in the past. I don't know if he's doing that lately, but he had very good success with that. Now, Willie says, isn't that the Complete Studio Handbook? Very interesting. Raju Vero, I believe. That's a pretty cool name, actually. So we're just going to pretty much move around. Now, those who know me, who've been following me for a while, know that my thing is that I make the eyebrows smaller than they are. And that is just a weird proclivity that I do. I usually have to overcompensate. But, if you know where you are, where you have a tendency to do something, you could always look out for it. And this way, you're able to bring it on home. Yes, that does sound like Radu Vero. Exactly. That's an artist name if I ever heard one. Definitely a famous name, right? A name just destined for fame. There's a shadow right under here. We're just going to go ahead and hit that. Oh, medical illustrator. I have a funny story about medical illustration. When I was a freshman in college, I took a assessment test, where they assess, your talents, your strengths, your likes, science, math, art. And it turned out that the perfect job for me was medical illustration. And I actually got accepted into Rochester Institute of Technology for the medical illustration department. It's just the whole idea of the autopsies at the time and the operations that I would have had to basically study and be a witness of, kind of kept me from doing that. It's a good thing because from what I know, that field is pretty much done now. It's all computerized, so it's actually a blessing I didn't go into that. But they made good money. Kiva, good to see you. How you been? It's been a while. How's everything? Kiva, of course, is this amazing mural painter, so it's always great to hear her stories and her triumphs and trials of being a mural painter, as well as an amazing airbrush artist, portrait painter. I think Kiva does it all. Right, Kiva? You do it all? I know that. Paris said, I had an art teacher who had been a medical illustrator. Wow. Now I'm working very light. I'm going to have to eventually, very soon, go darker. Buddy says, by the way, Radu's first book is on the web as a PDF. Oh, that's very, very helpful. Thank you so much for that, buddy. Can I look that up on Google? Or is there a special link? Now what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit the planes of this finger here, the part of the finger that's not getting hit with light. Just going to make sure that I hit that. Because, you know, even though it's just the fingers, we still have to make them turn, right? And that's important. So that's, so Paris says, try Pinterest. Okay, fantastic, to find that PDF book by Radu Vero. The first couple of minutes, you know, whenever you're starting working on your airbrush, if you first time during the day, you always just you want to do the work, yes, but you also want to make sure that you're warming up. You're not going in cold. You don't want to do that at all. And so what we're going to do is we're going to go ahead and reload our Sotar 2020 Slim with this very over-reduced ink here. Very much so. So some people ask me, what do I like better? Do I like the 2020 Slim or do I like the Extreme Patriot Arrow best? So those who have used both of them, what do you think of those two airbrushes before I give my 2 cents? Oh, wow. Thank you, Kiva. Kiva says it looks amazing. I appreciate that so much. Still haven't got the Badgers. That is a long time. I know I just saw a video. I'm sure you saw that on the Badger site that they are making them. And hopefully you'll get them soon. Wow. And Willie says, haven't had time to paint all week, but I have Friday off, so I'll try and make up for it. Yeah, that's great. And, you know, things happen, right? Work and everything, so don't beat yourself up, Willie, that's for sure. So Willie says definitely the Slim. Very interesting. So that I do love the Slim. I do. The Slim handles low air pressure like nothing else out there. I really feel that the Slim really shines in low air pressure and thin paint as we are working right now. So that is where, but as far as an all-purpose workhorse, then definitely I like the Extreme Patriot Arrow. The Extreme Patriot Arrow, if you have the detail connection, you know, which comes with the nozzle cap, the little cone thing there, and the .21 needle, it's really a powerful airbrush. So really fantastic. And so definitely, I think it's the best 1-2 punch in the airbrush world today. So guys, what I'm thinking of doing is something very interesting. I'm thinking of doing a 2-minute Tuesday. And a 2-minute Tuesday where I will talk about something tech related to the airbrush. A tactic or a tip that will only be 2 minutes every Tuesday. And it will pertain to the airbrush and India ink. And I think that would be fun. What do you guys think? You think that would be something that you would look forward to, having a 2-minute Tuesday every Tuesday? This way I can do the quick videos and, you know, get information as I'm working during the week, and I can get that out to you. I do a lot of experiments and findings and stuff like that. So we are just continuing to move around right now. Now what I want to do is get rid of some of these pencil lines here, if I can. Now the pencil lines, oh, Wendy says great idea. So perfect, Wendy, I appreciate that. So I think it would be a good idea to get that technical information out to you guys as I find it during the week, rather than telling you something you can look into it and everything. Oh, Paris said that she mailed me the PDF downloadable link. I appreciate that so much, Paris. That's fantastic. I'm going to go ahead and send it to you guys as well. So I'll go ahead and relay it over to the other people here in our Ink Flingers group, Paris. So thank you so much. That is fantastic. So what is it about Veriel's book that you like? Is there anything in particular that you find extra helpful? Paris? Oh, Willie says, always look forward to my videos. I really appreciate that. Thank you so much, Willie. You know, you guys really keep me inspired and keep me pumped to do these. You know, you guys are very supportive, and I always appreciate that, and always know how important it is to me. And right now I'm just, as you can see, I'm moving around, doing different things as I see them, keeping it fresh, keeping it, you know, keeping the ensemble going. You know, you don't want to work on a hand and get that totally perfect and then work on an eye. Those are things you don't want to do. You want to keep everything fresh and together. Now, I was looking yesterday and I had seen that the space on this side of the eye is a little big, so I'm just going to make that negative space a little bit smaller. There we go. And I think I may have to make this eye a little bit larger here. And I'll just establish it with the pencil, and then we'll come in. Now, what I'm going to do is I'm going to keep the Sotar 2020 Slim. I'm actually going to keep that with the very light mixture in it. So what I want to do is go ahead and fire up my Extreme Patriot Arrow with a little darker mixture so I can go back and forth. I think that's really good. Having that 2 airbrush mixture is always helpful. You know, if you do have the connection for 2 airbrushes, I think it is really good. I'm just going to go ahead and park my Sotar 2020 Slim, and now get out this guy. And of course, everyone knows the Extreme Patriot Arrow is a wonderful airbrush, and I always like showing it off during these live streams. So I have a darker mixture over here. What I'm going to do is move this aside, and I'm just going to put this darker mixture in here. Okay, so before we ever go into, when we load up a new airbrush or reload it, we always make sure we never do the first shot on the surface or the painting we're working on. Always do tests. This way, you know, you don't know exactly what the air pressure is, all those different things. You want to make sure that you are definitely testing it out, making sure that it is shooting correctly, spraying correctly, dots. You know, you have your fading lines, you have your circles. You got to make sure that it's doing everything you want it to do. You know, one airbrush to a next other is different, so there's a whole different cadence. So you're going to have to go ahead and do a couple of dagger strokes, make sure that everything's working correctly, all that. And so Paris says eliminating bad habits. Heath, how you doing? Good to see you. So that's very cool. Buddy says, I like the way that that gentleman who wrote the book explains the technical issues of painting in a way that's understandable. And Jeff, good to see you. So glad you can make it. How are you, Jeff? So Jeff and Heath, basically we are just going into, we started working very lightly with a very light mixture, a diluted mixture, and now we're going to go ahead and go in with a little bit of a darker mixture. I would say probably three drops of India ink to 3 full eyedroppers of the water. So now that we're a little bit darker here, we can go ahead and just start adding some contrast here and there. You know, like anyone who knows me, I like moving around. I think that's so important. I like the painting to come together all at once. That is crucial in, you know, having a unified image, something that looks like a painting and not just, you know, a complete copy of a photograph. The color portrait at the end of the book is cool. That's what Willie says. So that's really great. So definitely going to check out that book by Radu Vero. I'm going to check and see. I always, rather than purchase books, if I find a book, I order it from my library. I do have a video on how important your public library card is to artists, so definitely check it out. It was in September of last year was the video, so definitely check that out. I think that would be very helpful on how, you know, important it is to have your library card. Now right here, I think I got a little overzealous with the eyelashes here. Just want to make sure I have that shape. As you're working, you know, you're going to refine, and things are going to look more of a likeness as you're going. You're not getting nervous if it doesn't look like the person just yet. That takes time. You know, stick with the program. Always say that. Let's see. Willie says, I don't need it, Tim. Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. Always good to see what other people are saying. So thank you. I really appreciate that vote of confidence there, Willie. Paris said she got hers at the half price books years ago. Heath says, so not trying to rub it in, but so he's not trying to rub it in, but he got his slim about a month ago. Then you'll never guess, they shipped another one that I got last week. Wow. So Heath, what was the second airbrush? Was it the Extreme Patriot, or did you get another Sotar? I think you ordered an Extreme Patriot, if I'm not mistaken, right? Okay, one of the things that I have been looking at earlier today is that this finger here is coming up forward from this hand here. So I wanted to really study it and figure out how can I make that hand come further up. And what I can do is just make sure I darken what's around that finger here. You see, if I darken it, that finger is going to automatically come forward. You see that? So you want to look at things and say, okay, I have to make that hand come forward because it's in front of the back hand. So how are you going to do that? I want you guys to start thinking that way. And we just use our freehand shield, and you know, don't rush it. Wait until you find the exact position that is going to help you get that edge that you're looking for. So you see, I'm already bringing that hand forward. Now over here, I don't want to rush it, so I'm going to take my eraser, and what I'm going to do is I want to make sure I have the curve of this fingernail before I use a freehand shield. I want to make sure I nailed that down. So Paris says that she made Tim's pinup shield also. Great, that's fantastic. You do a small version as well? That's fantastic. He says that he wished the Patriot, it was a Patriot, but it was a second slim, sent to them a note, let them know, but haven't heard back yet. Oh, okay. Yeah, that would have been great. So that's cool. A second Sotar Slim. Jeff says, probably asked before, but what air pressure do I use? Now, the air pressure that I'm using on this darker color, this darker paint here, which is a 3-to-3 mixture, I like to up the air pressure. I usually put my air pressure at 25 psi, and then I dial it down um, with the Mac valve. So dialing that down with the Mac valve, I would say it's probably at about 20, and then when it's really thin, I'll dial it down to around 15 psi. But definitely play with it, do some tests on test paper, see how it goes, make sure it's not spidering before you go ahead and put that on your artwork. So right now I'm just going to go ahead and make sure that I'm making that finger come forward there. Same thing here. So you see, that's pretty cool how we can do that. Same thing here. So we also have this part of her hand, the heel of her hand, and that's coming forward. So what we can do is we can erase it a little bit, and that's going to help just a little bit, bringing that forward and making sure that we didn't get overzealous with this cast shadow here. And I did a little bit, and it's okay. It's okay to make mistakes as long as you catch them. And let's see, Tim, I sent those out to you this morning. You should get them. Wow, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, Kiva. You're the best of the best. And so that's cool. He says, looks great, Tim. Missed last week as I was visiting kids and grandchildren. That is so much more important. Anything happens, I always make sure I put the video so you guys can see it, at your convenience. Hey, I'm always happy to talk to you guys, but know that, life happens and you don't want to miss it, especially cool stuff like grandchildren. So that's cool, Heath. Did you have a good time with them? I'm sure you did. Paris, you don't feel well. Oh no, let me see. I'm going to scroll back and see. Oh no, Paris says that she has to say goodnight, not feeling my best tonight. Oh man, Paris, thank you for the tip on the Radu Vero. I hope you feel much better. That's so important. And don't worry, the video is going to be up. You can watch it in its entirety and if you have any questions, please email me. I'm so sorry. That's a bummer. Oh boy. Yeah, I always feel bad when you guys don't feel well, but that's why I do these videos, so you can actually put them on. I put them on YouTube so you guys can see them. If I put them on Facebook, chances are you won't be able to get them because they sort of disappear. He says had a blast with his kids and grandchildren. They beat him up though. Wish I had half their energy. You got that right. Oh my goodness. That's for sure. Kids, right? Oof. I have their energy, but I run out of gas fast. So, all right. So you see how I'm just pulling. Now I'm going to just get this little cast shadow here. And just a little bit right here. Of course, this looks dark, but it's not even close to the value we're going to have. Mike, how are you? How's everything going? Hope you're doing well. Welcome back, Mike. And so that's cool. We have a nice group here, so that's fantastic. Very happy about that. All right, so you see, Jeff says, Tim, do you still do pastel work? Yes. Not as much as I would like to. A lot of my commissions and stuff that I'm selling is in the airbrush. I don't have the time to do as much pastel, but yeah, that's always gonna, I've done pastel for a good 25-30 years since I started pastel, so yeah, I'm always going to be doing it. It's It's a great medium if you haven't tried it. It's really fantastic. He says, yep, he ran out of gas, then came back for more and more. Oh, that's great. So glad you had a great time, Heath. Family is wonderful, so I'm so glad you have a, you have a family, a good family, and they enjoy your company and vice versa. And as you can see, we can, with this slim here, not the slim, with this Extreme Patriot Arrow, we just have the ability to get this amazing detail. It's really incredible. So really fantastic. And let's keep moving on. So remember here, I said I wanted to make this eye a little bit bigger here. And maybe just a little bit bigger on this side. There we go. There was a little bit of spidering there. So what I'm going to do is lower my air pressure, move away a little bit. There we go. So you see the eyes are starting to become more congruent or equal in size. And I am going to adjust this with, I'll adjust it with the eraser. So it's not like it has to be perfect, guys. It doesn't. So you see, as you can see, we're just making sure that those eyes are the same size. It's very important. And oh, Wendy says that she lost me. I'm so sorry. What's happening? Are you losing the audio or visual? Wendy's having some trouble lately with the live stream. That's a bummer. So it's just look how wonderful this detail is with this Patriot Arrow. Oh, cool. Wendy's got us back. So he says definitely want to get a Patriot. Ken's next birthday for sure. Hey, that'll come around pretty soon, right? Before you know it. Definitely you want to get this airbrush, which is the Extreme Patriot Arrow. Several things I like about it. The small cup so you can see pretty unobstructed a little bit. I still like to paint from the side like that. I don't recommend painting from the side with the Sotar 2020 Slim because that cup could spill. But this you have the cap, so you are in good shape for that. Now let's just keep the value that we're working with. And one of the things is you want to get really good with your freehand shields, guys. That is like your most important tool, I think, is the freehand shield and using them. Hey, Brad, good to see you. How's it going? So fantastic. All right. So there we go. And now I'm just bringing one finger in front of the other here. And I don't like the way that came out. And what you want to do is you want to give it a second to dry. And you can just do it with the air. And then what you can do is you can erase pretty easily with this paper. Okay, so you'll see I didn't like the way that finger is looking, so we're just going to erase that and come back to that. Did not like the way that the anatomy was coming out there. Nothing we can fix down the line, that's for sure. And here we have this finger here. So let's find a freehand shield. And then we're just going to go ahead and hit that dark. Oh wow, Heath says because I like it, no doubt that you will too. I appreciate that, Heath. Yes, I definitely will not steer you guys the wrong way. I'm very hard on my airbrushes, so if I recommend it to you guys, it has to be a winner, you know, because a good airbrush really is a big difference. And the fact that, you know, Badger airbrushes are so inexpensive compared to Iwata, they are really a win-win situation all over the place, winning in value, and also just, you know, being a pleasure to work with, especially with the India ink. That that 0.21 needle nozzle combination here, 41.044 for the Extreme Patriot Arrow, is just kick butt. That's all. Kick butt. That's not a bad word. I didn't say the A word. That would make my video demonetized. So I'm going to keep it PG. Not even PG-13. Got to keep it PG, right? So that's for certain. So I have, so Keith says, Tim, is the paper Canford or the new Canson you showed us a couple of days ago? Funny you should say that. I was just going to mention that. So this is still my stash of the gunmetal by Canford Cardstock, De La Rowney Company. So I did get a hold of them, and they did tell me that they are no longer going to be producing this paper. I was shocked, scared, and it was just horrible. And so I told them how much that I love it, and how I have a whole group on YouTube and Facebook that uses this paper. So the people at Canson, which is Canson is taking over the paper for De La Rowney, and which is really really big, because Canson is a lot more famous and they have a lot more variety of paper than De La Rowney. So let me see if I can show you what they sent me, guys, just the other day. And I'm going to be, not this project, but the next one, we're going to be using their paper, not their meat taints, but the other one. So let me just very quickly see if I could pull up that file here. Okay, so it would be under, it's always difficult to find the exact file, but I think it's under downloads. Here we go, guys. So this is what they sent me, guys, which is really neat. They have like a type of cardstock, and it actually looks like gunmetal in Dreadnought Gray. And then they sent me a couple of their meat taints, which is more geared for pastel, but we're going to try it. But these are the two that I'm really going to try. The Canson, the first two you see on the top. So that's pretty exciting stuff. That's going to be down the line, and it's readily available. So I'm going to do a complete review, and I'm really going to push this to its highest, to the breaking point, to see if we could use it as good as this paper here. So we'll see. We'll take a look, and we'll just get rid of that. Okay. So now Willie says he tried the TerraSlate and didn't like it. I haven't tried it, so that's something to look at down the line. The TerraSlate. So what was it about the TerraSlate that you didn't like, Willie? So that's very important. Mike S says, Tim, did you check the links I sent you on the paper? I did not. Did you send me an email? Because I'm going to look at that. So let me, if you can send that again, I haven't seen it. Or I'm just going to double check. I got a lot of emails this week, so I might have missed that, Mike. So sorry about that. But yes, resend it. I'm going to check for links on some other papers that you guys like. I want to hear what you guys like. So Bill, how's it going? How's everything? He says, be in and out, working an order for a motorcycle paint job. Very cool. So Bill is a very diverse airbrush artist. He does everything. It's really amazing. His stuff is really fantastic. The Iron Man he did was just out of this world. Willie says, I think it's just him, but it's too smooth, the terrace slate. So Mike says, hey Bill, I watched your eye video, left a comment and liked it. Very cool. So what we're going to do is we're just going to continue moving around here. Now what I'm thinking of doing is going back into the white a little bit. In a little bit I'm going to do that. And we're just darkening her eyebrows because, as you know, I always make the eyebrows too small, too thin. So as you can see, darkening her eyebrows does give a little more of a likeness to her, but I'm not worried about likeness at all at this point. I find myself, as I'm airbrushing more, guys, that I'm using the paintbrush a lot less for detail, and I think it's just because I'm getting a little more comfortable with the airbrush to do basically everything. But that's just because I'm practicing like a crazy man. That's it. Full Aztec theme, Bill says, on his motorcycle. Very cool. Mike S says, it figures, just as Tim said, my name, the page reloaded, and I missed everything. Oh, man. Basically, if you have any questions, Mike, let me know. If you missed anything that reloaded, I'm happy to repeat, my friend. I don't want you to miss anything, and I don't want you to miss any questions you might have. And so we are just creating a separation of that hair. And how that separates, if you do have this value here of this side plane, and I think it's actually maybe not even a side plane, I think it's probably the cast shadow from her hair here. And then it gets darker as it gets closer to her hair, the edge of her hair. And of course you can hear my compressor going off. Now Mike says, did you check on the paper links I sent you in email? I did not even see your email, Mike, but I'm going to double check. I did get a lot of emails on that account, and I might have missed it, but I'm going to check as soon as this is over. But thank you for sending that. I'm so sorry I didn't receive your email, Mike. And Bill says, thanks, Heath. Hope everyone sees reflective surface metallics, so that's pretty cool. Keep moving around. That's so important. You want to work on the large shapes first. You work on those large shapes, and then the small shapes fall into place. So that's the goal. And you know, as you're working the whole thing, it's so important. Everything else is going to fall in, just like how do you say? Everything's going to fall into place, just like a puzzle. But you have to continue working towards the finished piece. That's so important. Remember, dagger strokes. See, I'm a little bit further away when I want things very soft and blended. I'm going to be about 3 inches away. So that's going to be crucial. Let me see if this second camera. See if I can get a better angle for you guys. Okay, cool. So you'll see, like, when I'm working on the hair, I'm a good distance away. When I'm working close, you can see how close I am. So distance is everything. You want to always work in three dimensions, that's for sure. Mike says, I sent it after watching last week's video after I missed it by an hour and a half. So maybe around 2 a.m. I sent it, I think. Perfect. I'm going to go ahead and look at that. Thank you so much, Mike. I appreciate it. I'm going to check out that link, and I really appreciate you sending that link on the paper. Thank you so much. Okay, so you see big shapes of the hair. That's what we're really working on. He says I have to try that reflected surface effect. Very cool. So as we are working here, we're looking at these big shapes, not the small shapes. And there are value differences in the hair. I'm not even worried about the contours of the hair just yet. If they're the big shape, I will. And then we're going to go ahead and scratch with the eraser and just begin the hair. Begin having the hair come together. Now, Wendy, how are the dogs coming? Wendy's doing a portrait of 2 dogs, and how's that coming along? And let's see here. Okay, so now we're going to move over to this side. So what we do on this side, we're going to do on this side, guys. Very important. So as you do the large shapes, what's happening is you're working on the hair as a whole. And you're seeing the hair as a three-dimensional surface, three-dimensional form. It's not like spaghetti, you know. You don't get concerned about individual hairs. And so that's very important. Wendy says she stopped and is just practicing. Practicing is so important. Practicing is everything. I practice, I would say, about 1/3 of the time that I paint every day. I know that might be an excess, but that's what I like to do, in the sense that I like to practice everything. Dagger strokes, dots, fading lines, doing lips and eyes. So when I actually do an eye in a portrait, it's going to be right on the money. Willie says, Tim, are they still going to make the Dreadnought? No, they're not going to make gunmetal. They're not going to make the canvas cardstock. It's over. So that's what they told me. So they're making a change, but their new paper is promising. It's not their mi-teintes or tients, but they have another line which is very similar to this. And the colors are very similar. So I'm going to do a female nude, actually. And that's going to be my first one. And also my next project is going to be with that paper as well. So we're really going to put it through its paces, you know. We're really going to push it. Mike S says he sent 4 links with TerraSlate stuff as well. Very cool. And so let's keep moving on. Keep this going. Okay, so there is a value change right here with the hair, and I want to hit that. Mike says he has a question he's been wanting to ask for 4 weeks. Oh, cool. What size is easier to start with? 8 by 11 or a bigger size? Bigger size is always easy. It's always going to be easier in airbrush. Because you know, something like this is going to take a lot of control, and so that is very important. Now the new paper is Canson. Let me see if I can actually get the name of that. It'll be real quick. Let's see. Okay, I'm going to actually blow it up here. Let's see. Let's see if I can actually see that blown up. It just says, I have to go in the other room. I think it just says acid free, 82-pound paper. And it has a fine grain paper too. So it's very similar right now to what is going on with the Dreadnought, the actual Dreadnought Gray and the gunmetal that we're using now. So, and he says, Tim, can you post the name of the new paper? Definitely. I'm going to post that on Ink Flingers later when I get into that little room with my other studio for you guys. So keep everything moving around and keep everything fresh. So yes, so Mike asks, you definitely want to work bigger. A head like this you can do. It's a good size, maybe even a bigger head to begin with. You don't want to do small heads. Give you some example of some small heads that I have done that I think would be something that you want to stay away from, because the airbrush is going to be very unforgiving when you work small. That's for sure. So you definitely, even this head is going to be a little too small. I don't think you want to use that. You don't want anything like that. Let me see if I can find another. You definitely want to do, let me see if I can find one that's a large size head. That would be good for you to give a shot. So here's one. This is a large head. That would be very good to do something like this. You see the head's pretty large, the eyes are pretty big. Something like that would be a real good way to start. If you can do an 11 by 14 paper with this, that would be fantastic. Also, if you could do a even a, you know, maybe an 18 by 24 piece of paper would be great as well. So you definitely want to do something bigger. Can we just paint the cardstock gray? No, because you don't want to do that. Good question. So you definitely want to, because if you go ahead and paint the cardstock, it's going to warp. So you really have to be economical with the saturation of ink to the paper. Buddy says, what is Ink Fling? Ink Flingers is our Facebook group. And Wendy, if you can send him a link, that would be fantastic. Yeah, it's really cool. Our Facebook group, we all meet there and we, you know, share our work and some findings with ink. It's really fantastic. So it's a great group. Definitely just type in Ink Flingers group, buddy. And I'll try and send you a link as well if you can't find it. But we're definitely going to approve you for membership right away. And it's really cool. I mean, you get Gaston does some really incredible tips and tactics on sort of hacking into these airbrushes, which is amazing. There we go. So you see, even just working on the hair, you're getting a real sense of Selena Gomez. You really are. We're not even worried about, we want the likeness to happen. We don't want to look for the likeness. We want the likeness to just occur. Oh, fantastic. Look at that. That is great. So thank you so much, Wendy, for sending that link. So fantastic. Now, if anybody wants to go ahead and purchase any Badger accessories or any of the Badger airbrushes I use, make sure you use the code timothypsa, and that's so important. And what you could do is go to usaairsupply.com, and as you can see, you could go ahead and shop. You could pick up the airbrushes that I'm using today, like the Patriot Extreme Arrow, which is just $99. But with my code, you're going to get that for like $90 and then plus tax. So this is an airbrush that's just fantastic. It does everything that an Eclipse does, anything that one of the Highline series of Iwata, and then some. So it's actually a better airbrush than the Iwata. So if you use that, you can get that for less than $100, plus any of the accessories that you purchase with this. You also get 10% off by using that code timothypsa. So definitely give that a shot. And so what I'm going to have to do, since I went on there, I'm going to go ahead and reauthorize the chat. Let's go back in there. Of course, it's going to take 2 shakes of a lamb's tail or something like that. Let's see. So yeah, definitely, I definitely recommend these airbrushes. They are really fantastic. I use them all day long for my most important commissions and all my live stream work. So I don't know what I would do without them. And you know what's also great about them is that the accessories are really ridiculously cheap. I know a needle for a Iwata, like my Iwata Custom Micron, is like $40 with tax and everything. I could go ahead and get a needle with the head assembly for like $5-6. It's amazing. So definitely, thank you, Wendy, for that. The Timothy PSA. Mike's still waiting for. Thank you, Wendy, for putting up those links. I really appreciate you so much. And so we have. Yes, I know it's rough waiting for those, but I see that Ken is really working hard getting them out to you. Hopefully soon. You and Kiva are still waiting, so it's really, really great. So okay, so let's go ahead. So that's really cool. And also, if you want to purchase the ink or anything like that, links are in the description. Those are affiliate links with Amazon, so if you purchase them, the price would be the same, but you will be supporting the channel. So if you want to get the paintbrush that I use, you know, if you want to get something like the little liner brush that I use, or the erasers, or what have you, the white pastel, definitely go ahead and hit those affiliate links. That's really cool. And it's just it seems slow during the middle, but it all comes together really fast. Isn't that true, Willie? This technique, it seems very slow during the middle, looks like nothing's happening, and then at like week 4 everything just pops. Oh, so Mike ordered it from Midwest Airbrush, not from Ken. So I would definitely give them a call. They're usually very good. So check them out, Mike. That's for sure. Willie says, must have been lucky every time he ordered an airbrush, got it in a week. No, that's very cool. Very, very cool. So very neat. Okay, so let's keep moving around. So let's go ahead and draw in. We have here is the Faber-Castell Perfection eraser. It's a very aggressive eraser. And we're just going to indicate a little bit here and there of the hairs. Nothing too crazy. Now I'm looking for my mono eraser. I know it's here somewhere. Let's see. See, that's what happens when you put stuff away, guys. You never find it. Am I right? Sometimes it's best to just leave your studio in disarray because you know exactly where everything is. You guys feel that way too? You guys have that? Because I know I do. Okay, so here we go. So I did find my... I kind of like this a little bit better for hair in the early going. So as you can see, we can get the start of some hairs here. And it's not like, you know, a razor blade technique where we're going to be looking for every hair, right? We're not doing that at all. We are basically getting a sense like the old masters. They didn't worry about putting in every hair. They just worried about getting a sense and of the form. And let's see, I don't want to miss anything here. Wendy says they didn't send me all her stencils. They were back ordered but didn't tell me when she did get them, but they were nice when she called them. Very cool. So customer service was good with Midwest, Wendy. Bill says I got no problem keeping my studio in disarray. Very funny. And Wendy says organized her studio today and labeled everything so I could find stuff. That is very cool. And Mike says he ordered his on St. Patty's Day with the 15% off. Got $89 with free shipping. Is that the Sotar Slim or the Sotar 2020 Slim or just the regular Sotar 2020? He says my bench is organized chaos. Very cool. Wendy says, Mike, there is an online chat function on Midwest. That's very helpful. So that's good information, Wendy. Wendy has some great information, I'll tell you. She's fantastic. I don't know what I would do without Wendy. So just, you can see I'm just moving around, not getting too crazy. Just, and then I could go ahead and dust over that. And that actually helps to find some of those individual hairs that I did with the eraser. And then I can go ahead and do another layer. So what I would do, as you see right here, there are, I like this one too. It's like a chisel point by Mono, which is really fantastic. Steve, good to see you. How are you? So glad of you to stop by, Steve. So Steve is new here, so welcome. This is a great group. We have a very healthy group today, so I'm so happy you're here. So as you can see, just putting in some individual hairs here, and then we can go back and dust over it. Jake, how's it going? Good to see you. So glad you can make it. So as you can see, we're just going to just reiterate some of these darks. There we go. Moving around. I'm not going to get too involved with the hair, but I do like to establish it. That's very important. And of course I like to put some paper underneath. I don't want to kill my table. Although the India ink, even if you do get some on your table, you can wipe it off with some Windex and a paper towel, and it comes off pretty cool. So Kiva. So Kiva's cool. So Kiva's here, yes. So she did come out of her studio. That's always great. She's always such a hard worker. Bradley, good to see you. Bradley says he needs to order the shorter trigger for his arrow. Definitely. I could even show you real quick where it is if you don't mind me going there for Bradley. So Bradley, you're going to go here to the usaairbrush.com, and let's see. So we would probably go with airbrush parts. And let's see if I could find that for you. And actually what I'm going to do is I'm just going to go ahead and type in Sotar trigger. And that's the one you want because it's really good. And who told me about that was the person who knows so much. And that person, of course, is Gaston. He's just amazing. Replacement parts, here we go. So you want to go in replacement parts. So that's the high roller trigger. You don't want that, and we definitely want that. And I'm going to look for it here for you so you know exactly which one that I got, which is really fantastic. It's a round one, and it really feels good in your hand. Let's see. But anyway, go ahead and look under airbrush accessories, actually airbrush parts, replacement parts, and look for that Sotar brush, okay? So I have a hard time finding it on the fly. A lot of pressure. uh, Willie says I need to make a special Tim Special Edition airbrush with the smaller trigger. That would be the coolest thing, wouldn't it, Willie? I would love that. Also, I have some ideas for some changes I would do. So, you know, some things I think works better with our medium. And just the fact that we like tight detail and we like to have a low profile, that sort of thing. So that would be really cool. So Wendy says, Steve, are you a newbie or an experienced in airbrush? Yes, Steve. So have you been airbrushing for a long time, my friend? I believe this is a shirt over here, or her blouse, I should say. So we're just going to pull that up. So as you can see, slowly we're developing her. We're bringing things together here. We're not getting too crazy. Right here, it's a little bit darker, right? So remember, you always want to go ahead and get good with your freehand shields. That's so important, guys. I can't express how important that is. Parallel. I mean perpendicular, not parallel. So I see it's a little bit darker as we get lower here. We're just going to go ahead and touch on that. Remember the fading lines? The fading dots? That's what we're doing here, some fading dots. So I just want to show you because I never want to take it for granted that you guys know this stuff. So fading dots, why are fading dots so important? Okay, so here we go. So this is a fading dot. You see we have a dot and then we fade it up. See, we have a dot and we fade it up. Dot, fade it up. You need to practice these all the time, every day. Practice these. Now, every one of these little moves that we do, these little strokes, are going to help you down the line. So let's go back and I'll show you why that fading dot is so important. So here we are, fading dot. See? It's a fading dot. That's what we're doing here. See if I can actually show you a little bit better. See right here, fading dot. So if you know that movement because you've done it so many times, it's just so much easier. That's what I want. I want it to be just like practice. Michael Jordan, when he won the 6th championship, basketball championship with that shot against the Utah Jazz, what he said was that it was just like practice. So that's what I want that to be, you guys, just like practice. So I hope that helps. Steve says, just the beginning, learning, getting supplies, preparing for retirement. Congratulations, Steve. This is the right place for you. So make sure you subscribe, hit that bell icon so you'll be notified when new videos come out. And you're really going to love the fact that we're working with India Ink because it's going to bring your airbrush alive and it's really fantastic. Now, Wendy says, when I do dagger strokes, the end is the fastest. Why? Sometimes it is. You know, when I do a dagger stroke, and this is something that I do, how I teach the dagger stroke, you know, you pretty much, the end is sort of the fastest. You can flick it, you know. You don't have to, but that's how you get that really, really tight point at the end, is that flick. See that? You get that flick. And you do your dagger strokes in different directions. So you have to learn to do your dagger strokes, your fading lines, all in different directions, because that what might be, you know, what you need. So also if you're doing some, let's say you're doing some tight detail here, right? So you say, okay, I'm painting this eye here. line of the eye. These are just a bunch of little dagger strokes. See that? They're a bunch of, even this part of the eyelashes, you see, they're little dagger strokes. So dagger strokes, the fading lines, the fading dots, the dots, you know, all those different things are so crucial to that. If you're learning distance, you want to learn distance as well. So all those different things are so important. And so Bill says, and if you go fine to thick, it's a reverse dagger. Exactly. So you can actually go ahead and do a reverse dagger. You can do a reverse dagger, of course. I don't know if the reverse dagger is something that needs to be done as much as the dagger. But yeah, I mean, and also a dagger in different directions is always important. So all those different things are really going to go a long way. Let me just dry it with some air here, and then we'll go back to our work. Let me go ahead and raise the aperture. Actually, the shutter speed, get more light in there. So it's really very, very good. So, okay, so I'm doing a reverse dagger. But definitely you want to go ahead and make sure that you master those fading lines, the regular dagger. Those things are very crucial. Things that you're going to be using like all the time. And you see how right here I was going in doing that fine line here, and that of course is your regular. Wendy says she's all discombobulated. Bill says, I bet I use a reverse dagger as much as I do a dagger stroke. Wow, okay. No, that's very interesting. You know, we all paint differently, so that's interesting. That's cool. You know, we all have our way. Because, yeah, it might be because you do the fur. Yeah, definitely. I don't paint fur, so that might be my disconnect from that. So it's good to know, that's for sure. Definitely. It's fantastic that there's always, as we get better and better, we're all going to have our own way of doing it, which is great, what we bring to the table. So right here, we just have like a quick fade over here. Different things you'll use, and you won't even realize that you're using those particular strokes, But he says, is it possible that you're pushing down on the trigger at the end of the stroke? Now for the dagger, I always do push. When I'm done, I actually go ahead and push the trigger forward to really get that really nice point at the end. But I'll tell you, if everyone practices a half hour a day for 365 days in a year, you are going to get better. You are going to just kick butt. So that's what I recommend. And I am going to be doing that. Actually, I have been. Like yesterday I finished a painting and I was sort of woke up today and I wasn't sure what to do. And rather than think about what to do, is I got some test paper out and I just started doing some dagger strokes and fading lines and dots and L's and capital L's, and really I just realized that for me to get to be world class, I'm going to have to practice every day. I'm going to have to work harder than I ever did. And I don't ever want to be outworked. And I don't think you guys ever, time is a factor, of course. But I don't think you ever want to be outworked. That's definitely true. Wendy says, oh, okay, sorry about that. So Wendy says, actually, Buddy was talking about Wendy, okay. Bill says he hardly practices now, but I used to every day a lot. I do paint a lot and doodle a couple times a week. That's not bad, I just want to, yeah, I'm an ex-athlete, so I'm used to practicing, and so that's sort of the mindset that I come from, Bill, is just, if I want to have that edge, I have to keep practicing, you know. Tim, you need to paint old men like, Mike says, Tim, you need to paint old men like him. We have very furry faces, and you get a good fur. That's funny. Thank you for making me laugh, Mike. Buddy says, Wendy, let up on the trigger as you come to the end of the stroke. Good advice, guys. Good advice. So as you see, I'm just moving around. I'm not getting crazy. And let's go ahead and use our freehand shield and see if we can work on her beautiful eyelid here. There we go. So you see how I use that freehand shield. So important. Make sure you wipe that freehand shield off before you go back into it. So Bradley says, Tim, do you plan on doing any color portrait videos in the near future? I am, but I sort of droned down the gauntlet to Higgins. I told them, I've been working with your Higgins, and they've been very good to send me, their Black India ink and everything like that. So I actually went to them and said, I want to work in color, and I'm thinking of doing some color down the line, and I would like to not purchase your line of colored inks, but have them sent to us. I haven't heard from them in 2 weeks. So right now it's still up in the air. If they do send it, then we can definitely, otherwise I'm probably going to go ahead and use their PH Martins down the line. I would say over the summer, definitely. So that's pretty cool. Thanks for asking though, Brad. That's really cool. I should do color pretty soon. Let's see. Wendy says that this portrait's coming alive. Thank you so much. I appreciate that. So Wendy says, I guess it's normal for wrists and fingers to hurt. If you're not airbrushing every day, your hands do cramp up. But since I'm doing it a lot, my hands don't cramp up as much. Your muscles get used to it, and your joints get used to it. So that helps. So I don't even check what time it is. Oh, it's 10:48. Hey, Willie, I haven't had to change it at 10:30. So how about that, right? That's pretty cool. I didn't have to reauthorize the chat. There we go. So you see we're going ahead and just making sure that we get those beautiful, beautiful contours, those inner contours in her eye. Okay, so you see I have this nice light color. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to change airbrushes really fast. I'm going to go ahead and put my Stream Patriot aside. And let's fire back up our Sotar 2020. I have that over-reduced ink in there. So let's go ahead. That's a good thing about having two airbrushes fired up with two dilutions, a lighter one and a darker one. So you see I'm able to go in there and not get too dark, which I had with this one. So let me see what else. I did it earlier, yes, but that was before 10 Dirty Willie, and that was because I went to a different screen and lost the I lost the authorization. But it didn't do that timeout thing this time, Willie. So I thought that was funny, huh? Okay, so this part of her teeth here and her lips are so crucial to pull out her character, of who she is, which is really cool. Let's see. Death Grip will mess you up with the airbrush, definitely. So drink more beer while airbrushing. That's always, Mike. That's always, drink more beer is always good advice, I guess. And Buddy says, Tim, do you review? Did I do a review of FW ink? What did I think of it? I didn't do a review, but I did a painting using FW ink, their sepia, and I loved it. I really liked it. Pluses, it just blends and flows from the airbrush, just amazing. Hardly any tip dry, no clogging. Great, 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 great. And vodka makes a great paint out of it. Oh my God, yeah, that's true. And that was great, but it didn't erase. I had a hard time with erasing. Any of the acrylic inks, I find, don't really work as well. Because, remember that India ink is made out of carbon and soot. It's pretty much suspended in water. So it really, even though it's waterproof when it dries, it's still not strong like a plastic acrylic. So that's why acrylic inks are really good for this particular technique. But yeah, I really love them. How do you like them? Do you like the FW inks? So the inks are really taking off in the airbrush world, which I'm really happy. I'm getting some really interesting feedback about India inks. Is a lot of people are spreading information that India inks are bad for your airbrush, and they are even better for your airbrush than acrylic paint. Definitely better than that Create Tech stuff, I'll tell you that much. So that's for sure. Jack Daniels, yeah. You guys are funny. So I have that really nice light mixture here. And so he says he likes the FW ink, so that's pretty cool. And Buddy also says FW is great stuff. Yes, so right now my big thing is the Bombay. They're still India ink, so they erase pretty good. So I'm using them pretty often. So it's just nice having this really light mixture. I can be more daring. If I make a mistake, it's so easy to erase. And you can see that, even though this is a very light mixture, you really can do some great sketching with it. And I think that's what the light mixtures are very... Oh, good night, Kiva. It's great to see you. Thank you for sending that stuff. I appreciate it. So Kiva says that she has a couple to finish and to get framed up tomorrow. Thank you so much. Always great to see you, Kiva. You're the best. So let's see. So Buddy says the Bombay watercolors weren't very good. Yeah, I haven't touched their watercolors, but their ink, the saturation is just fantastic, and that's what I really like. Their earth colors are very thick, and sometimes they can get thin. They can have trouble getting through the airbrush. You have to make sure you thin them out really well. Always the consistency of skim milk. Here is the white that I use. It is P.H. Martin's Bombay India Ink White. I use that through the airbrush. Just make sure that you thin it out. It's really fantastic. Their India ink is very good. Do I have it here? I don't have it. It's in the studio. It's over there. But their India ink is good. It erases well. Not as well as Higgins, though, I have to say. Higgins so far is the winner as far as erasing and everything else. Since I have this light color, what I'm going to do is I'm going to start doing some of the anatomical landmarks in her head here, her orbital ridge. Because the forehead is never, guys, the forehead is never just this like sort of flat surface. There's a lot of muscle. There's muscle and bone going on, which is really fantastic to really know about anatomy and able to go ahead and sort of look for them. Remember, it's easier to find your destination if you have a map. So always go ahead and make sure that you are constantly referring to anatomy books. And I do love the way that, sometimes the likenesses come early, like we are here. I think we're getting her likeness pretty early, which is really feels good. But always remember, when you're making a cake, you're not taking it out to taste it, right? You're making sure. So we're going to go ahead and put our Sotar 2020 Slim aside. You saw how beautiful that worked on a low air pressure. I would say about 15 psi, and a really very diluted India ink. Yes, I did a sepia on YouTube, exactly, with the black, and I actually used that with the the FW sepia. That was the girl from, oh, what was she? She's a girl from what is that show on HBO with the Gallaghers? Shameless. Yes, the girl from Shameless. I did that like last summer, right, Wendy? That was one of the first India Ink live streams that I did. Wendy says she looks pretty. I appreciate that. Yeah, definitely check out some of my early live streams last summer. I also have some live streams on my channel. If you go to Painting Glyphs on Twitch, I think I might still have some on there. I'm going to go ahead and probably do some more Twitch live streams. I really should. Let's go ahead and clean up a little bit with the airbrush. This is a little rough. I don't want to use this just yet. So let's go ahead and see if we can get rid of some of those pencil lines. So you still see some pencil lines here and there. Let me go ahead and see if I can show that. You see, you still see a little pencil line here and there. Very faint, but those are the things I want to try and get rid of. You might not be able to, but as we get darker, they sort of go away anyway. But when you do see them as you're going, just try and get rid of them. But you don't want to dig into the surface, right? You definitely don't want to. So Wendy says to Buddy, tell me about the P.H. Martin watercolor. So Buddy, yeah, what happened with the watercolor? What was your findings? What were some of the issues that you had with it? Was it lack of saturation, or watercolor is rough because of course it's not waterproof, and if you're doing layers, it's going to be quite scary. Watercolor is a rough medium, very unforgiving, in my opinion. In my techniques, I would say. So let's go ahead and pull back out. There we go. All right, so we have a darker plane here on this hand. So this fingers are coming forward. They're facing the light. This hand is still facing the light here, but it is not as much as the fingers. So let's go ahead, get rid of some of the pencil lines here. The best we can. Since everything's so light, as we darken, those pencil lines are not going to cause a problem in the future anyway. All right. Now, here, I'm going to get a little aggressive right here. There we go. Okay, so remember, fading lines, so important. Buddy says he used them 30 years ago for aviation work. Wow, very cool. Bombay watercolors are different. True watercolors, they're different from true watercolors. Very good to know. So let's just go ahead and darken. back of her hand here. So you see that we're creating a sense of that hand being in three-dimensional space. Now remember, we don't have that light color that was in the Sotar, so we got to be a little more ginger with the use of the ink here. But still, we want those hands to turn. Get that crease of that thumb there. So basically just moving around because they are so transparent. Yeah, that could be it, Wendy, definitely. Okay, so we want this finger to come forward just a little bit from her neck. So what we can do is just lighten this right a little bit, bring that finger forward. And let's see if we can shape her teeth a little bit. And same here. Let's shape her teeth a little bit. And I think what we're going to do is we're probably going to go ahead and fire up that Sotar and put in that darker color. If you can, the best 1-2 punch is going to be the Sotar and the Sotar 2020 Slim and the Patriot Extreme Arrow. I really think that's a great 1-2 punch. So I have my lighter mixture here. Now this is very light. This is probably 1 to 15. 1 drop of India ink to 15 eyedroppers of water. It's really very thin. So, but you need that to do things such as these very delicate areas. So this is something that is a little bit of a new principle with this technique, guys. So definitely. Wendy says she wishes she has her hair. Very funny. You have beautiful hair yourself, Wendy. And Wendy says I'll stick with watercolor with them, and I will be resisting them in an airbrush. Cool. Buddy says I use watercolor for 99% of his work. 2 paints are the best. That's so cool to know. Thank you so much. So that's Da Vinci. I heard good things about Da Vinci watercolor. So whenever you go ahead and put in, any kind of paint in an airbrush, when it runs out, always test off on a test paper, never on your artwork. You want to make sure that the needle's not back or anything like that. So it's Rick, how you doing? Good to see you. So I'm so glad to you're joining us today. It's fantastic. Always great to see you, Rick. Always, always. So we're going to be working on her beautiful smile here. But you see, we have such great control. I want you to try it. Try using it with this type of dilution. You're really going to just be like, oh my God, I can't believe I can get this much control with an airbrush. But it's true. Makes a big, big difference. Now, what's interesting is that the space between her, you know, the crease between her two lips, or two teeth, are not really aligned, but a darker value. So what we're going to do is we are going to take our freehand shield here, and we are going to, well, the first thing I want to do is I want to make sure, so I'm going to park my airbrush a sec. I want to make sure that the drawing is correct. So if we're looking at her here, I can see that in between the two is actually falls right in between the two nostrils, like right down the center line. So with that being said, I am going to make sure that that's what I'm doing. So there's a method to my madness, guys. And then this tooth sort of slants down this direction, and this one seems to be slanting down in this direction. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to use my freehand shield, and I'm just going to do a change, a very slight change in value. If I was using the mixture that was in the Extreme Patriot, it would be way too dark. This over reduced color is what we need. So I'm going to follow the pencil line, and I'm just going to do this ever slight fade. See that? That is going to make the difference. And same here underneath this tooth here. See that? So this is very, very delicate. So you don't want to do anything like that with, you know, anything but your most precision airbrush, like the Sotar 2020 Slim, and anything other than a very reduced paint. Because if you don't use those two elements, you're going to have a hard time, and chances are you're going to spend half your day trying to fix that. So remember, light is right. Low air pressure, highly diluted. Make sure you practice. Okay, so one of the reasons why you practice is, let's say you're not practicing and you're trying to do that, and all of a sudden you get, let me just lower. Remember I told you how Michael Jordan's, when he did things, it was like game day. It was like practice during game day. That's the way I wanted to be with you. So let's go ahead and let me just really reiterate this for you real quick. I think this is a very important lesson. So if I'm not practicing different dilutions and practicing different different distances, when I go to work on the teeth and I go like this, look how beautiful that is. See that? That would be when I'm working on the teeth. I'm going to have spidering because I have no idea what that dilution is going to do, what dilution, what distance, what air pressure I would need to get that line, right? See that? So I would realize that I would have to lower my air pressure a little bit. This is what I'm doing in practice for a half hour every day. See, I'm knowing what it's going to do because I already did it in practice. Same thing, you know, if I want to do like a really, let's say I have my air pressure really high and I want to do a dot and I'm going to get more spidering. But if I've done my dots and tested it out with different air pressures and different distances, I know how to get that dot. I know how to dial that in. And that looks big, right? But look how small I'm working. So, let's see. So you see how small I'm doing them? Because I've been doing it in practice, that's really going to help. You know, that's really going to take your work to that next level, guys. Okay, so I missed some questions. Let me see if I can go back. Okay, so Steve says that he purchased a Path Vision airbrush a while back but have not used it. Anyone else use this? Thoughts? I now have the Sotar 2020 with the cup, which is a very good airbrush. I heard good things about the Pache Vision. I haven't heard bad things about it. So definitely, I know there are some YouTube videos where they talk about it, which is pretty cool. Let's see. Wendy says, Steve, I have not heard good things about Pache. And that's what Wendy says. Not familiar with it though. That's just what I heard. Doesn't mean it's correct information. Sotar is awesome. The Sotar is a wonderful airbrush by far. We've raised the shutter speed. Let's see. So Buddy says, I still use a Pache Turbo airbrush. I heard good things about that. I actually have one. That thing is pretty wild, right? That's some airbrush. So am I wrong? Do you guys like Pache? I don't have much experience with Pache, Wendy. I know they've been around a long time. I know that, so I can't say one way or the other. The two that I have a lot of information on are Iwata and Badger. I use Iwata for like the first, I would say, 8 years of airbrushing, and I do love them. But I actually am enamored with Badger for several reasons. The price, the customer service, the idea that the parts are very inexpensive, just several things that just Badger really is a fantastic company. And I had the pleasure of meeting Ken, the CEO and the head of Badger, and he is just great. So I definitely want to support him, that's for sure. And let's see. And one thing about Badger is they listen to their fine artists. I can't say the same about our friends at Iwata. I think if you're not doing the whole thing with Createx, working on cars, they don't really know that you're alive, or know they really care about whether you're alive. I mean, they have their niche that they really cater to. So that's cool. That's their business motto, but it doesn't work for me. But I'll tell you, since I've been using Badger, I'm one very happy artist. Isn't it great how, by using that dilution, we're able to go in there and do tight detail that otherwise might be very scary, guys? Buddy says the turbo is magic, but no longer made. That's a shame. Wendy says, do you think they would keep making it? You would think they would keep making it, sure. Bradley says, Wendy, I can't really say bad things about it. Use it forever, seems like cool. And sorry, not Talon, the Rapture. Oh, okay. So I heard bad things about the Talon. And I'm not saying that those things are actually founded, but a lot of people don't like the Pache Talon. I thought the name and everything was so cool when it came out, years ago. I'm like, look at that. It has an eagle engraved on it. It was just really wild looking, right, guys? It really was. Look at this. We're at 11:13 already. This is fantastic. I think we had a very good live stream. We had some really great questions, and so that's really cool. So in the last 15 minutes, so any questions you guys have, always feel free to ask. Don't hold back. Bradley says, but I haven't heard any good stuff about them anymore. Yeah, I'm not hearing very good stuff about them either. Willie says he likes Pache for heavy stuff and his turbo. Yeah, I mean, they've been around a long time. So they have that going for them, right, guys? So I'm doing the cast shadow of the lower lip here, of Selena's lower lip. There we go. Wendy says, Tim, she looks beautiful. Thank you, thank you. I appreciate that so much, Wendy. And so right now I'm using this. Look at the control you guys have, guys, with the Sotar 2020 Slim and that diluted over-reduced ink there. Look at this. It's fantastic. So what I can do here, guys, and I want you to see this, is I could establish the shape that I want on this cast shadow of her fingers on her cheek. So I'm just going to establish the shape. And then here we have the cast shadow here. And then we can go ahead and come back in with the Extreme Patriot Arrow. Remember, the best 1-2 punch in airbrush right now. At least for me, and I'm doing 6 hours a day. I'm blessed to do 6 hours a day of airbrushing. And, you know, with that being said, so now I have this particular airbrush with the darker mixture here. Pretty much a 3-to-3 mixture. You see, I can go ahead and, you know, let me wipe that off before I go any further. And I'm just going to make that shape a little darker. Remember, I established that shape with the lighter Sotar 2020 mixture. And same thing here, let's wipe that off. Let's make sure that we use the freehand shield correctly, guys. And looks like we have a little bit of a errant dark here. We can calm that down. There we go. Now this is the middle stage, and those guys who, you know, have been, you know, with me for a while know that the middle stage seems like it's going slow, but it's all going to come together within the next 2 episodes, 2 parts, parts 3 and 4. So this is the patience part. This is where you're moving around. You're getting a sense of relative value, and we're just slowly getting darker. So my guest says Pache makes a brush for nails called Juvel. It's a cheaper version of the Rapture and the parts interchange for about 46 bucks. That doesn't sound too bad. And then Buddy says, Tim, have you used Higgins Black Magic? I have. It does not work the same as the waterproof. It's going, so when you do layers, they're going to actually mix with each other. It's going to be horrible. So stay away from that. Also, the erasing is horrible too. So you definitely want to go with the Higgins Waterproof India Ink. So when you do get it, you want to make sure that it says waterproof. See here? Let me just change it here. Very important, buddy. You want to make sure that it is the waterproof. So let's go ahead, and so you'll see here it's going to look like any other ink. You'll say Black India Ink, but you want to make sure on the top it says waterproof, and that's going to be what you need. So definitely go that route. A lot of you know, people from ink flingers actually did get the other one. I've been using India ink since I was a kid, so I know the different ones. It's good. It's more, Black Magic is more for like comic book art and doing the inking, that sort of stuff. Good. It's a really beautiful black, but not for this, unfortunately. Steve says that his vision came with a Dree needle and cap assembly, 0.25, 2.28, and 0.66. So, but definitely, guys, oh, so buddy, you have the Black Magic. I would hold off until you get the waterproof India ink. There's a link in the description for that. You can go ahead and purchase that on Amazon. I believe it's less than $5. So definitely look in the link in the description of this video. That will really help. So with that being said, I definitely would go with Iwata, the lifetime warranty on your labor, not the part. So think of how cool that is. So labor is the more extensive, so you're going to have to pay for those inexpensive parts if something happens, you know. Definitely, buddy, get some tomorrow. You're not going to be sorry. Definitely the route to go, my friend. just what it does and how it works is just perfect. Now, what do I know about the India ink? Like, what is, like, did I just wake up one day and do the India ink? No, not at all. Uh, but the thing is, what you want to do is, what I did is I used, I pastel painted for 30 years. So I use India ink for my underpaintings. And I did just regular brush, just pen and ink brush work, and then did pastel over it. But when I started airbrushing about 6 to 7 years, 8 years ago, I actually was using it primarily for underpaintings and using the India ink. I was using acrylic paint, Createx and Golden, but I've always used the India ink. And then I decided to go ahead and I decided to just go ahead, and one day I was like, what if I went ahead and just tried to do a fully realized ink? And it was just magic. It really was. Heath says that she's looking gorgeous. Learned a few things tonight. No, thank you, Heath, for stopping by. It's just fantastic. I learned from you guys, and your questions, help to sharpen me, and, a lot of ideas about paint, and, airbrush talk is always good for me. So I look forward to my Wednesday nights, guys, like you wouldn't believe. So I'm going to start that Tuesday thing, the 2-Minute Tuesday, 2-Minute Tech Tuesday. So that's going to be the 2-Minute Tech Tim Tuesday or something like that. So Mike, how is the Juvel compared to the Sotar? I would definitely say that it doesn't come close to the Sotar. I'm just going to have to guess. But yeah, I would love to know what you think about that. Mike S says he's going to come and he's going to go to pick up the Juvel and make it on a small tip airbrush, 0.25 or smaller. It's erasable. Watercolor is not at all. Oh, wow. India Inks is of interest because it's erasable. Watercolor is not. You're going to love it. You really are. And with this kind of paper, it's going to be fantastic. Heath says he just needs to heed to my teachings. I think you're doing great. So anything you learn from me will be fantastic. Looking forward to it, Tim Willie says. My 2-Minute Tech Tuesdays. My 2-Minute Tim Tech Tuesdays or something like that. There's going to be a lot of T's involved. That's all I have to say. But yeah, that's cool. I'd love to hear about different brands of airbrush, definitely. So here we are. We have the Badger Extreme Patriot Arrow. We have that darker mixture moving about. So we're just pulling her together, and as you can see, she's really looking pretty, not close to being finished, but we're getting a real nice sense of a complete picture that we can continue and slowly bring her together. It takes you longer than 2 minutes to say it. That's true. Perhaps the 4-minute, 2-minute. That's funny. That's funny, Willie. So that's really neat. So that's cool. It's gonna be cool. So I'm gonna start my first one, and it's gonna be stuff that I just find out, not the obvious ones, So maybe some really cool things that will just pertain to us and what we're doing here. Wendy says, PH Martin India Ink, I guess Higgins doesn't make colored ink. They do. They actually do. It's not India ink, though, Wendy. So one of the things is I contacted Higgins and said, I'd like to work in color, but I'd like you to send me some of the ink so I could use your inks because I like your India ink. So let's see if they actually answer my email. So it's important that if I am pushing their product, that I get some love from them, right, guys? Mike S says they make a 10 tech ham radio. Wendy says, what, Tim? Yes, they do make inks. They're more of a dye ink, but I want to see if they're erasable, you know. I used them in the past. They seem to be good, but I haven't used them as far as erasing. So that's something I want to try. So, but I do want Higgins to send them to me. I'm not going to try their product and then pay for it as well. Because I think if it works, it's really going to boost sales, you know? Jake says, consistent 16 now. Remember when it was like 4? Okay. Consistent as far as viewers at the same time. Thanks, Jake. I appreciate that. So Mike S says he's going to say goodnight early. Hey, it's great to... Hey, you hung out until 11:25. That's really cool. Wendy says, dyes sound lethal. With the airborne. I'm not sure, but that's something to look into, Wendy, definitely. So Mike, thanks for stopping by. I'm going to find that email. Thank you for sending it. And always great. You always have the best questions, Mike, so I always appreciate that very much. I never seen dye ink that erased. That's true, buddy. It might work or might not, but it's... So you're thinking dye might not be a good thing. Is that what you're saying, buddy? Because that could be the case. If it's a dye, it might not be as malleable, right? Is that the word? As, let's say, India ink, which is sort of suspended, right? So that's very good. Very good point, buddy. I really appreciate that. See, I learned so much from you guys. You guys are really helping me out, and which is, getting information, sort of bouncing it off one another, so buddy, thank you. And just Wendy says, awesome live stream, so nice to talk with you guys. Well, thank you, Wendy. I appreciate it. You are amazing. So Wendy says that it sounds lethal as far as airborne, right, Wendy? So definitely we have to look into that. And I don't want anything that's going to be harmful, right? So before I use it here, I'm definitely going to check them out. And so we are at 11:27. We're getting to the end here of this week's live stream. I think we made some good progress today. Like I said, the middle doesn't seem like much is happening, but it really is. It's sort of bringing everything together, catching everything up. Same here. Let's just sort of pull this over. There we go. And then over here, just sort of get some of these sort of voided areas. So we have a pretty nice beginning here to start getting a little bit darker as we go. So wouldn't it be great if we can get into our live stream, if we can get Selena Gomez to come by and just say hi? That would be amazing. So if anyone knows Selena Gomez out there, that would be fantastic. Wendy, you didn't leave yet, did you? Because Wendy sometimes, she always stays to the end. So I think you're there, Wendy, right? So we are at 11:29. I'm holding on till the last minute, trying to squeeze everything I can and squeeze everything I can out of this live stream. I don't want it to end. It's always so fantastic. But thank you so much, everybody, for hanging out with me. It was just the best of the best. So let's see. We are going to change our screen. So guys, thank you so much for hanging out. It's been fantastic. Great Wednesday. I had a lot of fun. Tomorrow is Thursday, and then we have our week coming up. So I hope everyone has a great week, rest of the week, a weekend. And if you have any questions, please email me at paintingglyphs@gmail.com. I'll be more than happy. All the links are in the description field below if you want to purchase any of the items that I did. Also on USA Airbrush, which is very important too. So thank you, everybody. Make sure you hit that like button. If you haven't subscribed, hit subscribe. Plus the bell icon so you'll be alerted to new videos, and stay tuned for the Tim Tech Tuesday, which is going to be 2-minute Tim Tech Tuesday or something like that, which is going to be very cool and exciting. Airbrush technical tips and tactics that I think are really going to help us with the India ink and paper. So I hope you have a great week. Thank you so much, and always a pleasure, guys. Love yous all.